The 15th BRICS Summit wrapped up on August 24th with some game-changing additions. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa welcomed new members. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Argentina. This expansion has two major implications: economic and political. Economically, BRICS now packs a punch, representing 47.3% of the world's population and 36.4% of global GDP by purchasing power parity. Meanwhile, the G7 club, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the US, only boasts 10% of the world's population and 30.4% of global GDP by PPP. BRICS means business when it comes to economic clout. Politically, BRICS isn't just here to play nice. Over 40 countries have their eyes on joining BRICS, signaling a desire for a new world order. The global North's grip on world GDP has been slipping, while the global South, minus China, now has a GDP bigger than the global North. This power shift has Western powers like NATO and the EU shaking in their boots, fearing a new Cold War. But it's not all talk. BRICS is flexing its muscles in the energy game too. With Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE and OPEC, they control a significant chunk of daily global oil production. Add China's Belt and Road Initiative into the mix, and we've got a new global energy network forming. BRICS isn't just about money and energy, it's also reimagining the financial world order. They're looking to strengthen a financial system that doesn't dance to the IMF, Wall Street, or the US dollar's tune. They're not trying to ditch institutions like the WTO, but they want more control in their very own new development bank, NDB. The NDB will deal in local currencies, giving countries an alternative to IMF strings. And they're not stopping there. BRICS wants to shake up the UN, especially its Security Council, to include emerging and developing countries from Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Ethiopia and Iran joining BRICS is a direct response to Western sanctions. Economically, the expanded BRICS group is going to make waves in global commodity markets, particularly in energy. But on the political front, things are getting spicy. Most of the new members lean toward authoritarian governments, and that's shifting BRICS' core principle. BRICS 11 officially kicks off on January 1, 2024. While there's potential for quick wins, there are also hurdles like the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran and disputes like Egypt versus Ethiopia over the Nile River. China and India may have their differences, but they're committed to sorting out their border disputes. The original BRICS members made up about 42% of global GDP, and with the newbies that's set to hit 50%, surpassing the G7 nations. But hold on, those stats need context. Many BRICS 11 members have a history of economic instability. BRICS has some big plans, including beefing up the new development bank, boosting trade cooperation, and exploring an alternative currency to the dollar. But the dollarization talk at the summit didn't lead to a consensus on a BRICS currency. Uniting nations with different backgrounds and resources isn't a walk in the park. Think United Nations, not a well-oiled machine like OPEC. Finance ministers from BRICS 11 will meet again at the 16th BRICS Summit in 2024 to dig into local currencies, payment systems, and platforms. Some might find this less thrilling, but it's the nitty-gritty of reducing the dollar's dominance. In a nutshell, the BRICS Summit expansion signals a tectonic shift in economics and politics. It boosts the group's influence on the global stage, but also raises questions about their political alignment. Challenges lie ahead, and the BRICS 11's impact on global affairs is a story still unfolding, with a focus on economic stability and reducing Western dominance. The United States must accept the growing power and influence of BRICS, especially China. The escalating tension between the US and China has reached a point where Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's hope that the world is big enough for both of our countries to thrive seems wishful thinking. The strained relations stem from the US efforts to curb China's expansion and assertiveness in Asia. The change in tone can be traced back to a 2011 pivot towards the Asia-Pacific region during Obama's presidency. Trump intensified it with economic battles, and under Biden, China is viewed as a competitor. While the US may still hold the military edge, China's rapid development indicates it won't be reliant on the US for long. China's pragmatic foreign policy contrasts with America's confrontational approach. China aims to create a multipolar world with several dominant states, and it has been clear about its ambitions. Despite lagging in certain areas, China is on a creative and innovative trajectory. While the US has failed to expand its influence beyond existing alliances and military bases, China counters American policies with persuasion and dialogue. However, it faces skepticism from its neighbors. The ongoing tit-for-tat between the two global powers raises concerns about global peace and stability. The big question is whether the US can peacefully share global influence with China. While indicators point to balanced coexistence, The US has shown no interest in sharing world leadership, and China remains committed to its global aspirations. The hope is that both nations can eventually use their creative energies for the betterment of humanity instead of indulging in the chaos and ugliness of power politics. In a separate development, Russia sent a clear message to the US by deploying its Sarmat intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. These strategic moves are seen as a signal that the nuclear option remains on the table for Ukraine. Putin's strategic message is meant to deter the US and NATO from intervening in Ukraine, especially given the fear of an escalate to de-escalate strategy involving tactical nuclear warheads. The situation is fraught with the risk of unintended escalation, which is a grave concern for national security professionals. The Nobel Foundation has reversed its decision to exclude Iran, Russia, and Belarus from its awards ceremonies and annual banquet. Citing the need for dialogue, even with those who don't share the Nobel Prize's values, the Foundation has broadened its invitations to representatives of these authoritarian governments. The move comes after Russia and Belarus were excluded last year due to the situation in Ukraine, and Iran was excluded following a brutal crackdown on anti-government protests. This year, ambassadors from all countries with diplomatic representation in Stockholm and Oslo will be invited, reflecting the Foundation's commitment to dialogue. In another development, changes in safety policies at X, formerly Twitter, made by Elon Musk have allowed Russian propaganda to spread more easily, according to a study by the European Commission. The study indicates that Kremlin-backed accounts' reach and influence have grown largely due to the dismantling of Twitter's safety standards. Musk's policy changes have sparked concerns about the spread of disinformation, with Europe taking a tougher stance on tackling such issues. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has pleaded not guilty to 13 state criminal charges related to alleged election interference during the 2020 U.S. presidential election in Georgia. Trump's plea comes as Fulton County, Georgia, announced that all future court proceedings, including Trump's trial, will be televised and live-streamed. With Trump facing 91 criminal charges at both the state and federal levels, his legal battles continue as he runs for re-election in 2024. U.S. President Joe Biden heads to Florida to survey damage caused by Hurricane Idalia, but will not be meeting with the state's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis. Despite their political differences, Biden has been in regular contact with DeSantis regarding the hurricane. The visit aims to assess storm damage and comfort those affected, but will not include a meeting between the potential 2024 presidential rivals. Former U.S. President Donald Trump praised Indian-American presidential contender Vivek Ramaswamy as a smart young guy with a lot of talent and good energy. Ramaswamy garnered attention after his performance in the Republican presidential primary debate. Trump suggested that Ramaswamy could have a role in the future, acknowledging his potential in the political arena. These stories paint a diverse and ever-evolving picture of our world, from international diplomacy and technology to legal battles and political aspirations. If you found this video informative and engaging, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more updates on the latest news, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our thought-provoking content. As always, feel free to share your thoughts and comments down below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.